My name is Karen Taylor, and I work in the Instruction and Professional Development Department for the California Teachers Association. And this webinar is part of our distance learning series. The month of October is focused on equity, and we're looking at equity in a lot of different ways. So thank you for joining us. And before we get started, I just want to remind everyone it's really important. You may have already received your ballots that you vote yes on Proposition 15. Prop 15 closes the loophole on corporate properties that are worth more than $3 million. So the folks who, corporations who own those commercial properties are not paying the same tax rates as many of us who are homeowners. Some of them are paying tax rates from 1977. So by closing this loophole, it's really just making them pay their fair share. And about 10% of 10% own 97% of the properties. So it's pretty significant. Prop 15 is not only going to bring $12 billion to public schools in California, but it will also bring money to the general funds of cities and counties so they can pay for services like firefighters, homelessness solutions, and other things like that. So, and also, since you came here to talk about special ed, the money that goes to schools will go to the general fund, which means that it actually can go to pay for special education. So it's really important we pass it. Please vote yes on Prop 15. And with that, I want to introduce you to two incredible teachers that I love dearly and know I've known for a while now. They are both in the Instructional Leadership Corps. They are out of my area. Their names are Sarah and Kelly, and they're going to be talking to you today about distance learning and students with disabilities. So welcome, Sarah and Kelly, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us. All right, Sarah, you want to go?
All right. Hi, my name is Sarah Holm. I am a teacher in San Bernardino City Unified. I currently teach a moderate severe special day class at the high school level, but I've only been doing that about 4 years. And before that, I spent about 12 years at the elementary level, most of that in mod severe as well.
And I'm Kelly McCardle. I'm at Hrupa Unified. I also teach high school, mild to moderate. I teach mainly English. I also do a lot of collabing. So right now I have health and US history, which are my first time doing that. Been doing it for 23 years. Same high school, same mild to moderate, and almost always English, except for my collab classes.
All right. So we have today broken up, like Karen said, the focus is on equity and distance learning, but we're really focusing on what do we do to engage our students and make distance learning accessible as much as possible to students with disabilities.
And my district is one-on-one Chromebooks. So every student has a Chromebook. And our district purchased, I don't know how many millions of hotspots so that every student has access to internet. We have, I think it's like 6 students in the whole high school at my high school that there's like out in the boondies. And for some reason the hotspot isn't working. So they're working on putting lines out or something. I don't understand it, but they're doing what they can to make every student able to access. So.
All right, so let's go to the next slide. All right, so the first thing we want to talk about is family engagement. As you know, one of our preschool teachers already brought up, he has great parent support, and we know especially in special education, family engagement and parent support is absolutely key to our students being successful, even when they're in the physical classroom, but even more so when we're trying to engage them through the internet and through distance learning. Next slide. So a couple of things that I did. The first thing is I did not make a class schedule until I got my parents' input. The school made a schedule, but I had the flexibility because I'm a self-contained classroom. I was able to say, hey, we have any time within this window. What works best for all of you? So I could really try to make my schedule around them. I have a couple who work night shifts. So they told me not too early because I'm not even home from work yet. So we had to try to, that was a challenge to figure out a class schedule, but we did it. I use the Remind app, and that's something that our whole district now uses, but I was using prior to the district going that route. Remind is just a communication app. It's very similar to Google Voice, where the parents can text on it. And it also has a calling feature now. So you can actually make live calls to parents through Remind. You can send out group announcements, and it allows you to translate within the app. So I can send the message, I can hit one button, click it to Spanish and hit send, so that I know my Spanish speaking parents are able to get the message in the language that they need. Another one I use for translation support is One Click Text Translate. This is something that it's a Google extension that I've had some of my parents put on the computers for them, as well as I have it on my computer. So if we're doing a one-on-one lesson and the parent has a comment, they can type it in Spanish to me, a question, whatever, and I can just, with one click, I can get it translated to English for me, and vice versa. I can type it in English, translate it to Spanish, and hit send to them, because that's really the best way. I don't speak Spanish, but it's been given us a way for me to communicate with my parents.
All right, and a couple of the ways that I communicate with families and students is I have a Google Voice number. It's really easy to get. If you have a Gmail address that's not school-based, because our school-based one, you can't get it. So I have a personal Gmail, and I have that posted on my learning management system, and I send it out to parents. We also use Q, which is a student information system. There's Aries, and there's several others.
Oh, okay, yep.
Huh?
I was wondering what Q was. Yeah, we use Aries.
Yeah, there's Aries, but I don't know if Aries has a two-way communication feature. No. Q does. So if you use Q, figure out Q communications, and it translates it into Spanish. I also do a lot of formal and informal meetings with parents and students, usually outside of school hours, because I'm absolutely insane. I'll do one-on-one tutoring with students on the weekends. Parents can, if they just have questions or concerns, they can contact me, and I'll jump on the Zoom with them, just so we can work it out. And the kid, if the parent is Spanish speaking, the student usually will do the translating. So I try to keep as good a communication as possible with parents. Any questions?
Yeah, any question? I know that was just a quick 2 slides, but any questions so far? No? All right.
All righty.
And feel free to unmute yourself. This is a pretty small group, so when we get to questions, please just unmute yourself and let us know. All right, so the next thing we want to talk about was delivery of instruction. And this is really the meat of the presentation, is how do we get instruction across a computer virtually to our students that they can actually access, right? And so in my moderate severe classroom, we have the synchronous and the asynchronous time, as I'm sure a lot of you do. So for synchronous, we're meeting daily as a whole class for about an hour to an hour and a half. In the beginning, an hour was all my students could handle. And I would be like, okay, we're going to try to go longer. My parents like, no, it's okay. It's okay. You can be done in an hour, because my parents needed to be there with them to support them. But we've been pushing it. And just recently, we've been hitting an hour and a half a couple times. So I'm really proud of my students for extending their focus. I also do one-on-one check-ins with each of my students twice a week. Those are about 30 minutes long, and that's specifically to work on IEP goals, but it's also a time that I can check in with parents, see if there's anything coming up in the home, any concerns with maybe their elective class that I can try to help with. So those one-on-one check-ins, I really find them very beneficial, and that's really how I've been able to build rapport with my families and my students, because when we're all in one class, you don't get to know too much about them, but you get to know more of their personality one-on-one.
Okay, and for me, we actually have a set schedule, and there's no altering it. So we have 1, 3, and 5 on Tuesday and Thursdays, 2, 4, 6 Monday and Wednesday, and then Fridays it alternates. So like tomorrow will be 2, 4, 6. So we meet 2 or 3 days, whole class, for 60 to 80 minutes. Contractually, we have to do live synchronous for 45. But myself and most of the people I know, we're on there the whole 80 minutes with the kids. And we have advisory twice a week. And for sped teachers at my school, those are our students on our caseload. I'm constantly checking grades. I'm talking to them about their goal progress. I'm scheduling IEPs with them. And I also have a weekly Google form that's a mental health check-in. Just, has anything happened? How are you feeling? Just, it alters a little bit each week. We had a sudden death at a sister high school in our district. One of the football players, and I don't know exactly what happened other than they passed out at practice. And two of my students were really good friends with him. And so they put in their weekly check-in yesterday how distraught they are over this. So I'm able to, even though I have 23 kids for 20 minutes, I'm still able to touch base with them on important things like that they normally wouldn't be able to, have time to talk to me about. So I keep them after class and go, okay, let's talk. What can I do? What do you need? So the check-in on the Google form has been really helpful with getting to know my kids and being able to go talk to them one-on-one when they need it.
Some of the tools that I use for instruction and trying to make it more accessible, I use Jamboard, and then I use some virtual manipulatives. So Jamboard, I have a couple links down there. The image itself, for when you guys get this presentation, the image itself will take you to Jamboard, but Jamboard is actually a part of the Google suite. But I have a couple examples. So Kelly, if you click on the class, over on the left side where it says class lesson. So this is one of the Jamboards that we used that it shows what I do during class time. So if you notice, we all start with our attendance. They make a little sticky. Who's here today? It's still loading, I think, all the way up. Let's see.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, it's not showing the editing pieces. Oh, because you only have view only. But anyway, when the students, I share it with the students, they can edit it. So then they're going to they have post-it notes, and they put, how are they feeling today? So they all have a little post-it with their name, and I kind of check in. Are you sleepy? Are you sad today? Happy? The next slide, you'll see we do the calendar here on the Jamboard. So they're moving all of this. So when they log into the Jamboard, I can call on a student to move the blue rectangle to the month and the yellow rectangle to today. And so we're doing this together, and they're being able to interact with it. And then we can do things like math problems, right? We can do it right there. They're seeing it. They can manipulate it with me. Keep going. And then I'll show you. So you'll see some of that. And then this one, we were working on putting together outfits, like talking about how to dress and have your own style. So one of the features in Jamboard is they can insert an image, and they can do a Google image search right there in Jamboard without having to go to another tab. And so they got to put together their own outfit. Like, what would they wear? So you can kind of start to see like their style, right? What they thought was a nice outfit to put together. So it allows them to have some personality, so I really liked that. There's Lauren. She had all the accessories. So that's just an example. And then I think this one just for some reason has some blank slides. Oh, there we go. And then there's some more like addition problems, things like that. So if you close out of that one, you'll see, you can also use Jamboard as a way to check IEP goals. So here's what I did with a student on his IEP goals. And he was working on when to add and when to subtract. And if you look at a situation in pictures, are you adding or subtracting? So I actually gave him the little icon of a cookie, and he was able to copy and paste that cookie to match my story that I was telling him. So this is just another example. So he was here with me, and he was doing this, and there's drawing tools and everything. So you can write, you can put pictures in, all sorts of things. So it's really been a changer. I really didn't think my students were going to really be able to access it very well, but they've done a great job. And even the ones who need their parents to help them access it, it still gives them something to focus on. So like I have one whose mom will say, hey, look at the screen, point to something. How are you feeling? Point to how you're feeling, and she'll move her name over there for her. So that's been a huge help in making the lesson a little bit more interactive, not just me talking at them, right? The virtual manipulatives, if you click on that first one, that toy theater, I love this. This works great with working with students one-on-one because it has all sorts of manipulatives. So if you share your screen, You can click on the interactive clock, for instance, and you can work on time goals, right? So you'll look here, you can move the hands around and say, what time is it? You know, you can turn on and off the digital, like it says digital, there's that little off button, and that way they don't see the digital time. So now it's a little harder for them, right? I can give them the link and have them share my screen and they can manipulate it. So then I can tell them, oh, make it say 5 o'clock, make it say 7 o'clock. So this, again, it's just trying to find ways to make it more engaging and more interactive for them, because we know that our students really don't learn a lot just by listening to us. They have to see it, they have to do it. And these are ways that I've been able to do that virtually.
Do you want me to click on this one?
Oh, if you want, you can click on the other one. I like this last one because it actually matches our curriculum a little bit better. I had actual manipulative packets that I sent home, and this matches it. Oh, this matches it pretty well. So here's another one. You have a number board. You can just X out of that. You have 10 frames, number lines. There's dice that you can roll. So if you wanted to play a game where they're rolling a dice. So
I like playing.
Yeah. So that's all right. So those links are in there for you guys to be able to kind of check out afterwards.
Okay. Next slide. Still you.
Okay, and so for my asynchronous instruction, I've been giving them a lot of assignments. The ones I found on the computer that work is Google Slides. Google Slides just allows you, it allows you to make worksheets that they can drag, right? And you can find these on Teacher Pay Teachers as well, that you can, get for free or a low price. But you can also make your own. You just put a worksheet as an image in the background, and then you can make boxes and shapes that they can drag over and circle things, so, and different ways to manipulate a worksheet. So that's been really awesome. And if we have time at the end, I can show you a couple that I've made. Kami is a Google extension that a lot of teachers I know are using. It allows you to upload a PDF to Google Classroom, and then the students can write on it. And then Boom Learning. Boom Learning is like flashcards but it gives immediate error correction. And there are boom cards for all skills. There's life skills, there's letters, numbers, telling time. There's things like sequencing the steps to do laundry, I found. Like seem to be boom cards for everything. And again, some are free, some you pay for. You can get some on Teachers Pay Teachers and then attach it to your Boom account. There is a free basic account, but there's also ones that you can pay for that are really inexpensive for the year and allows you to track your students' progress. So when you assign these to a student, you can actually get reports on how the student's been doing with their Boom cards. So it's a great way. There's also ways you can make your own. I have not taken the time to make my own. I just love the library that they already have available of ones that other teachers have made.
Okay, and this busy one is mine. Okay. I like to use Pear Deck. There's a free basic Pear Deck. I'm seeing a chat. There are links to most of these things. Somebody asked if there's slide links, and there are links to almost everything that we're talking about. So Pear Deck is it just makes Google Slides interactive. And I have an example that we're going to go through real quick. It takes a moment to load. And then I've got to go to my tools. Pear Deck. Okay, so you have on your screen in just a second somewhere a website that you're going to have to go into and a code so that we can do this together. As soon as it loads, it'll pop up. Okay, so you're going to go to joinpd.com, and the code is BCFLBK. They always like to put a little saying underneath it.
Hey, Kelly, what does the K stand for in the previous slide? Someone's
Cami.
asking.
K-A-M.
Oh, Cami. It's yeah, I'll type it in the chat here. It's a awesome, easy program to use. I'm just thinking of all the ways it could be used for TK right now as I'm listening.
I can also put a link in the chat, which
Yan, so paano saglit? Put your video is stop nga na makanano kay kung makapunta.
so there's a link in the chat. It's a little bit easier if you just click on it, then you join. Okay, we've got 5, so I'm just going to go ahead and start. You can still join even as it's going. So this is what I did for my U.S. history class that I'm co-teaching or collabing with. And so the general ed teacher went through the slide itself, and I added a question, and all the students had to do was look back. So when was President James Monroe's presidency? 1817 to 1825. And so you, as the student, you should have 2 flags that pop up on your version. And you put your red flag at the start of his presidency and the blue flag at the end of his presidency. Oh, and I can show responses. So you can see the flags moving. And our students, they have to write the notes, so they have it right in front of them. That was 17, I don't even remember now. 18, yeah, I don't even remember. I have to go back and look. 1817, I don't do numbers. So everybody should be right about here, and then on 1825 with their blue. So you can either have responses or not have responses.
Kelly, can you show what it looks like from your view by any chance, like with the responses? Because we're still only seeing our own.
Oh, I thought I was.
I can see everybody's.
Oh, mine did not reload. Okay, that's interesting.
So yeah, you should be able to see everyone's responses. And then the next one of the slides talked about these cases, and you don't have to do anything, but they would type their responses, and we can see it as they type it if we want, or we usually hide it when it's a written answer like that, because you can see who's doing it, and it gets a little garbled when you have a bunch of 36 kids doing it all at the same time. So that's a write-in kind of answer. And then we go, here's another write-in, which states legally allowed slavery based on the previous slide. I think that's all I had, yeah. I've done more, but I just wanted to give you a couple of examples. So I'm gonna close that out and go back to, oh, I gotta find it, there it is, okay. So Pear Deck is extremely interactive. They have dots that you can move. There's multiple choice questions you can throw in there. And they have even like on the fly, so you have a question that you suddenly want your kids to answer. You can throw it up on a slide as you're doing it. And you get access to all of their answers. You can pull a report. You know who answered what, who didn't answer. And so it's instant formative assessment. And I see questions or something.
Yeah, so Mrs. Salazar asked, can the students use text to speech and speech to text on Pear Deck? And I said I just used speech to text on my cell phone and was able to respond.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
I'm not sure about text to speech, but I know that they can do speech to text to respond. So the next one of the things that we do is vocab.com, and I'm going to show you real quick. This is my actual page, You can create classes. This is completely free, by the way. You could look up lists that other teachers have done. So say you want to do Freak the Mighty, which is a really awesome book. You just type it in and you already have something that's already made for you.
Oh,
And the way it looks, that's not mine. They're given the, where is it? How do I just play? I can play. So I've played and, you know, here it is. There's the button. I'm sorry.
hey, Nolan.
So
Oops,
there's
sorry.
a challenge that's, I'm not sure if it's just statewide, but you can play the challenge words. You get some text and then they have to answer the question. And that's what it looks like even when you assign vocabulary lists. Sometimes it'll be the word with definitions and they choose. And it'll tell them immediately if it's right or wrong. And they have the opportunity, I didn't read this, to get the correct answer. But when they keep going, they don't progress until they start getting that one right. So they have to get it right a couple of times before they progress. The challenge one is really hard to play. So I usually just assign lists, but that's completely free. No, it's a free trial. I'm sorry. Seesaw. Hi. Sorry, technology. I'm learning still. Okay, so the Seesaw, you can create an assignment. You can steal someone else's that's in here. Technology moves so slow sometimes. The heck? I have assignment. Okay, I guess I'm not going to show you this one right now. Log in. I don't know. I don't know why it's not working. Oh, I know why, because I'm on my other Gmail account. So you can create assignments in this. You can link videos to it. You can make your own video and link it to it. The students, they can respond in writing, in video, on audio. So there's multiple ways that they can respond. You can require a certain type of response if you want, but they can also choose if you don't require a certain type. So I usually will give like a reading assignment and have them answer questions or write a summary or whatever the task that we're working on is. But they can do it in writing, video, or voice. And with the video, because none of my kids are on camera, they won't do it. And we can't force them. So I teach to black squares with names on them. But on this, you get a little body language. They cover up their face with like an emoji or something that they can put in on their video, but you still get some body language, which is nice when they make videos. And you hear their voice if they do a voice recording. And most of my students, they're not going to write if they don't have to. They're going to make a video or an audio recording. And I prefer that sometimes because I don't get to hear or see them ever. So I get to know them a little bit better that way. And plus it's accessible for just about anybody. And then the last one on this page is completely free. It's called Read Theory. When students log in and connect to your class, it's not going to let me again because I'm in the wrong account. They're given a pretest, a reading assessment that places them. And then they're given an article with questions to answer. And as they do well, it moves up just a little bit in the reading level. I've seen students reading improve a couple of years worth just by doing Read Theory every day.
Yeah, and Kelly, I'll say before we went to a plan of distance learning, I kind of had activities for my own student or my own boys, and I put one of my boys on this because he needed to work on comprehension. He's a great reader, but his comprehension is always a little lower. So yeah, I actually use this with my own boys, and it's just a short passage too. They're not reading this huge long story, so they don't get overwhelmed.
And one of the good things, or one of the drawbacks to Read Theory though, if you start using it with your students, they need to understand that if they play the clicky game and they just guess on things, which a lot of high school kids will do, they dig a hole.
Yes.
And my requirement when I actually assign it for asynchronous activities is they have to successfully complete at their reading level or above their reading level. So they're given 3 different options. So if they're getting everything wrong, it drops it down. So it's below their reading level. Well, the further down they get, the more they have to work to get out of that hole.
Yep.
So I learned that when I first used it a couple of years ago, and I had one student that really wanted to get back where he needed to be. And he had to go through like 20 articles before he got back to at his reading level. And once he was there, he really, he moved up. So they can't play the clicky game on that, or it just puts you in a hole. I also use Newsela. Some people call it Newsela. And these are current articles that have been rewritten at 3 to 6 different levels. And students can choose the level they want to read it at. I believe there's a free trial. Our district has purchased it, a license for the whole district. And you can assign it to a class. There's a writing response. There's a quiz that they have to take. There's also some vocabulary work that they can do. Quizzes and Kahoot are very similar, free basic accounts. I think probably everybody knows Kahoot, but Quizzes is extremely similar. There's lots of different quizzes you can give on just about any subject, and you can assign it as homework. Kahoot, I don't think could do that. And then Edpuzzle is a lot like Seesaw, but it's a little more advanced. And you can make videos, you can voice over, excuse me. And as they're watching the video, you can put a question wherever you want. You can use YouTube videos, but you can't voice over them. You can use Khan Academy. Any video you want, you can use an Edpuzzle and add questions. So the kids have to stop and answer the question. And you get their score when they're all done. So it's just another way to assign something that they have access to, that they can hear, they can see, so you're giving those different modalities all at the same time.
And then Kelly, can you share one more that I didn't put on here? It's Quizlet.com. Maybe if you just go to it real quick. Because that's another one that will work. You're talking about the vocabulary. This is one that would work with our Mod Severe students because, yeah, it's that first one right there. And this is a free one. You can do free ones, but what's nice about this one, and yeah, I don't know if you'll be able to log in because you probably may not have an account.
I don't know. We're going to find out.
Okay. I'll just explain it. But what you can do on Quizlet is you can actually create, like you have one right there, Speech of the United Nations, 22 terms, right? I actually made one. I made one for community signs. So I created my own deck of flashcards, and on one side is the word, and on the other side is a picture of the sign. And so my students, if they can't, they're learning to read their words, they can click to the other side, see a picture to help them, and I can share the link with them. I just do the free account. So I shared the direct link to them. They pull it up on their computer and they read the words to me, and they kind of practice going back and forth. So this is another website, Quizlet.com, that does virtual flashcards. And like I said, I like it because you can make your own deck of flashcards, and you can put images in it, and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't just have to be words.
And I have used it. This is one I used last year that I stole from somebody else. When we read about Malone.
Yeah, and you can search for ones too. You can search for some that are pre-made, that are shared public, or you can make your own. So anyway, I just wanted to share that one extra one because that's a little bit easier format for our moderate severe students.
Okay, and I'm going to go.
Oh, there's the Quizlet. See, I knew I put it on there. I just was a slide ahead of myself.
Okay. So Screencastify, there's a free basic. It's really easy to use. My district purchased it for everyone, and then Google Forms. Google Forms are awesome for, they can be used for summative, formative, checking for understanding, emotional check-ins. I use Google Forms all the time. I even use it as a sign-in for my tutoring program after school. It's just the same Google form, and they just say who they are and what time they come in, and it logs when they leave. So it's really easy. And we went through
Yep, and I showed you Quizlet.
and
Yep.
Screencastify, price-wise, it's a free basic. You can do up to 15 minutes. But if you wanted to purchase it yourself, if your district hasn't yet, it's only like $15 for the year. It's really cheap because I'd already purchased it or back in like April, so I could use it.
Okay. So here's some other things now, you know, again, we're talking about students with disabilities, and we know that not all of our students are savvy on the computer, and especially our students in the moderate severe classrooms. You guys, a lot of you guys said you're preschool and early elementary teachers, right? So your students might be able to log in with the parents' help to see you during class, but what do you give them to work on when you're not live with them? And so something I did is, well, first of all, my assistant provides tutoring twice a day online. So if they do need more instruction with the digital assignments, they can do it that way. But I also made some non-tech activities because I have students who the computer just is not something that they can access by themselves, and it's not an effective way for them to practice their skills. So I gave my students binders. At the beginning of the year, I did a pickup where I had a binder for each student, and in there I put some resource pages. Like I gave them each their personal information so that if they had to type it, they had a sample to look at. But I also sent some Velcro activities home. And I have one right next to me here. Let me grab it. I should have had it out. Sorry about that. But some examples of what I send home. So I sent some Velcro activities home. And so it's just things that they might be doing in the classroom. This is the days of the week, but they can take it off. They can match the days of the week. Some of my students do this while we do the calendar live. They're actually following along with this. So it gives them something tactile to do. Shapes, numbers, building their name. I made them Velcro pages where they actually build their name. And as I've gotten to know them and some of their IEP goals and stuff, I can make new ones. And every once in a while, maybe once a month, you know, I might arrange a time that I can either bring it to their house or bring it to my school, and they can go to my school and pick it up, right? And so I can make those arrangements. So those non-tech activities have been really helpful, especially for some of my really lower students. I also try to give them life skills because in moderate severe, we're not just working on academics, functional academics, we're also working on life skills, doing your chores, taking care of your personal hygiene, things like that. So those are some of the activities I also assign to my students. So it's not all sitting in front of the computer. They have options. They need to go practice the chore. This week, we just learned today about cleaning the toilet. So that's one of their assignments tonight. They're supposed to go help clean the toilet and send me a picture on Remind, or a picture or a video on Remind of them practicing cleaning the toilet, right? So it's those things too. So it's kind of thinking outside of the box when it comes to maybe some asynchronous activities that you can give them.
Okay, we just went through a lot. So questions?
Nothing?
Kelly, I wanted to mention that I know you brought up a few things that might cost money for a subscription. So if people aren't aware, there are a couple different funding sources where you could go, and I put it in the chat, but I see few people on the phone. You can go to your school site councils to see if there's additional money, because those especially if they have like a school subscription, then of course it's going to be able to be used for, you know, like English learners. And you all have like groups of students that qualify for those school site council funds also in your special ed classroom. So that's a good source. Also, your districts have learning loss mitigation funds, and they have to spend them by December, I think middle or end of December this year. So your district has some extra money to use to pay for some of these resources for you this year. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Okay, wonderful. And Karen, someone was asking, are they going to get a link to this slide presentation?
Yeah, so we'll download it as a PDF with working links, or we can share the link. In fact, are you guys okay? I can just share it now if you'd like.
Yeah, no,
Um,
that's fine.
I
As
can
long as
I
it's
can share it right now in the link. And then maybe if you both want to tell them about your follow-up workshop to this, where they're going to actually do some activities.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we have a slide about that at the end. So, but absolutely. So I know we have a lot of information for you guys today. And so we're just kind of putting it all out there, but there is going to be CTA is doing instructional rounds, virtual instructional rounds. And so we are both going to be doing a session where you can actually come and pretend to be one of our students. And we're going to take you through just a short lesson or short example of what digital virtual class is like for our students.
okay. So digital accommodations for our students.
And a lot of these are Chrome extensions. I think almost all of them are Chrome extensions. So if you just go to the Google Chrome store and you can search for these extensions, Natural Reader is a text reader. So that's one where the students can highlight it and then have the text read out loud to them.
And
It works with anything but not images.
they can do that in Kami too.
Yes. Talk and comment is something where, like, if they're sending an email or something, they can actually send an email with their voice versus having to type the email. And then voice typing within Google allows them to actually, it's basically speech to text. So they just start talking and it's going to type what they're trying to say or what they're saying.
But we of course need to make sure our kids are, rereading what has typed because, you know, sometimes it doesn't hear you correctly and puts in weird things, just like
Absolutely.
your phones.
And of course, and all of these have to be taught as well. So in the beginning of the year, I didn't just give all my students download all these things. We did one at a time.
Right.
I needed to get Kami. Now let's practice with Kami,
I
right? Like, so you really need to give them only one or two extensions at a time. Teach them how to use it, practice with it, let them get really good at it before you move to something else. In my opinion, at least that's what I found. Kelly, go ahead and talk about these three. I haven't used these three.
I'm answering a question for somebody. So now I'll go. Okay, so Read and Write by Google. These are all Google extensions. It'll read the text that's on the page and it will voice. You can speak and it'll type it for you. Speak It is a text to a voice, speech to text, and then voice recognition is another speech to text. So these are all Google extensions. And depending on your district, it depends on what can be downloaded and what can't. So there was a time where Speak It and voice recognition, our kids couldn't access. It wasn't whitelisted. But after a number of teachers pushed it, they whitelisted it. So now our kids have access to that. And there's actually several more that you can look, Google extensions that you can look for. All right, I was reading the chat. I'm trying to do both. So
No, absolutely. Marcelo was just mentioning it's better for as educators as well. And I totally agree. I totally agree that I found Jamboard. My students have gotten used to it. I plan on just sticking with it. I use Google Slides and Jamboard for almost everything. Like there's only a handful of things I do.
And you may find something that you think is amazing. You've got a great lesson and you go and you do it and it completely bombs. And the kids hate the tech.
Yeah.
I tried to do Flipgrid, and my 15-year-old daughter does Flipgrid in one of her other classes, and she loves it. She's like, "Mom, you got to try Flipgrid with your classes." Okay, so I went and I figured it out, did a lesson, it bombed. So notice Flipgrid.
Yeah, my students didn't like Flipgrid either. My parents said it was too complicated. They couldn't. They'd rather just take a video and send it to me on Remind or on Google Voice.
So you're gonna try things out, and the kids are gonna love it. They might hate it, and you just move on and find something else that works for everybody.
Yeah.
I think teaching is a lot of trial and error sometimes, and with distance learning, there's a lot of errors right now, and we keep trying new things.
Absolutely. So. All right, what's the next section?
Classroom management.
Oh, Moro, the instructional round dates are at the end, so we'll make sure to show you that. So classroom management, of course. I mean, my wife and I were just talking about this today, that how do you do a behavior plan? How do you handle behaviors if you can't physically be there with them working on it, right? So classroom management, it goes back to that very first section we had on parent engagement, right? And trying to get our parents on board. So this is this picture right here actually is in my Google. I do a Google notebook for every week where it has all what we're going to cover every day. And this is in the beginning of every week. This is our Google Meet etiquette. I stole it from somewhere. I found it, used it. I just changed the middle picture to be dressed, because you might laugh, but I've heard many stories from moderate severe teachers who said that their students have shown up without a shirt on, or in their little one showing up in just their diaper or their underwear. So we had to put that little, I added that one in the middle too. You need to be dressed for school. So some things I do, we do individual behavior charts for some students as needed. And I actually had an extra one, but another student needed it, so I sent it home. But what I did is I made a pizza, and it was just an empty pizza. And then I made all the pieces, and I cut it out, I laminated, Velcroed it, and I gave that to the parents. So every time the child logs in for a virtual class, they get a slice of pizza. And if they earn all their slices, their parents buy them pizza on the weekend. Right? So it was really getting that buy-in from the parents. Hey, what does the kid like? And are you willing to withhold it if they don't earn it? Right? You cannot just buy them pizza now if they don't earn it. It has to be something that's tied to this chart. I have another student who I sent home a individualized schedule, an individual schedule, because he was having a hard time following his day, giving his parents a lot of trouble. And now if he follows the schedule for the day, he gets a slice of pizza on his chart. 5 days plus 3 chores, and he earns his 8 slices of pizza. And again, his parents will buy him pizza on the weekend. My virtual sticker chart. Now, if Kelly can click on the virtual sticker chart link.
I had two going on at the same time, so I had to answer a question.
I get it. Oh, go back a slide.
Go back one.
And click on that virtual. There you go.
Sorry.
So this is something I made for my whole class. So the kids, some kids need their own individual chart, but this is something I made for my whole class. So this is October's theme, right? Because of Halloween, they have to earn candy, and then I'm going to bring them candy. So I took down notes. I asked all of them, what's your favorite kind of candy? And you better believe I'm going to be buying them candy and bringing it to them if they earn their pieces. Last month, we did dollars. They had to earn money, and I only had 2 kids earn it, but I showed up at their house, and I brought them their favorite kind of chips and their favorite kind of soda. Wow. So that's what I did. So if you scroll through this, you'll just see, if you want to click on one of the pages, I just use Google Slides for this.
Okay, I see.
So this is how they earn their candy, how they lose their candy, and then if you go to the next one, so here's one of my students. This is Caleb, right? So what I can do is I put the little pieces on the side, so I can just copy and paste, because let's be real, I don't want to look for an image of candy every time during class. So I have 3 little pieces of candy, and I have a grid here. So each day when we start class, we look at the Google Classroom. Who did their work yesterday? All right, who turned in their work? And then I go over, and so if they're on time with me, if they come to my one-on-one session, if they do their work, or if they go to tutoring with my aide, those are all ways that they can get candy. But my big thing is they have to be on time with me. I have some kids who are logging in 10 minutes at the end. I'm like, no, that doesn't count. I need you on time showing up. So they earn their candy. And so anyway, this is a month-long thing that we're going to be doing. Each month we'll have a new theme, and they just earn their pieces as we go through the month. And they can see their candy bowl filling up, and then they'll get their reward if they earn it.
That's awesome.
Oh, and I have to say, because I love my parents are so important, right? I actually asked my parents too. So last month I asked my parents, what's your favorite chip? What's your favorite drink? So the kids who earned it, if they have their parent with them all the time, and they're ones that I know they can't do it without their parent, I not only delivered it to the student, but I also brought treats for the parents, because I wanted to say thank you to my parents, because I know without them, that kid wouldn't have been earning those treats. So.
Well, mine is not nearly as adorable as hers. These are my in-class rules logging in on time. And sometimes I'll give a lesson for 15, 20 minutes and say, okay, here's the assignment. I'm going to stay on. You can check out if you want to, but you got to come back at this time. So it includes their revisits. I have them turn their cameras on for a minute so I can just see them for my attendance. The next one's really important. They need to have a place that isn't bed.
I have so many in bed. Oh my gosh, so many in bed.
I had one. I think he rolled over onto his Chromebook and turned on his mic somehow, and we could hear him snoring. And I couldn't mute him. So I ended up calling home, and mom wasn't there, but she called a sister and went and rousted him. But he was in bed. He needs to be out of bed. Raising their hand, participating, using appropriate language and pictures. Very, very important for high school kids. Challenging one another with respect. And everyone's contribution is valid and important. And then asynchronous is to complete all their assignments and submit by the due date, asking questions if they need help, and always completing work at the best of their ability. Every student I have is capable of doing all of those things. They don't always choose to. And there's not a lot of parent support. There's a little tiny bit more with distance learning in my district, but not much. Do you guys see this green line here? No.
Yes.
I don't know where that came from.
I don't either.
It's weird. And then my rewards and incentives, because we have Fridays, every other Friday with our 1 through 5 and then 2, 4, 6. We'll have Fun Friday if the class has earned it. I have a virtual sticker board, and it is basically a grid. Oh, wrong one. Clicked on the wrong one. And it's this grid, and I stole it from someone. I don't even know where. And as they get an assignment done, they can choose. There's going to be a bunch of pictures that pop up. They can choose whatever picture they want to add. They can go on and insert something from the internet, or use one of the ones that will eventually appear here. Yeah. So they can just click on it and drag it, and that's an earned sticker. There's 55 spots, so when they get it filled up, then they get a treat. And the treats are usually, like Sarah, is something we've already prearranged, and I'll have it at the school or take it to their house. And I have an assignment pass that's worth up to 50 points. And I usually give those once a month. If you've had perfect attendance, then you get an assignment pass. And if you've done all of your work for that month, you get an assignment pass. And then for students that have a behavior intervention plan, I usually will work with the parent, and this is in class or in person or distance. I work with the parent on what is something that your child will work for, and they'll tell me several things. And the really expensive stuff, I'm like, okay, we can work for that, but you have to provide it. And if they can't, then let's come up with something that I can provide, and it's not going to break my bank account. So usually it's like a bag of chips and a soda or a candy bar and something. Although they just opened a Starbucks not too long right across the street from the school, so a $5 Starbucks card goes a long way for some of these kids. So we make that arrangement, and then for that particular student, I have different incentives in place. And then for a student that just isn't, I have 2 that they kind of started working, but then they tapered off. So I have an incentive in place for them. And one of them is now getting caught up. And so when they get completely caught up and are staying on top of it, they have to stay on top of it for 2 weeks. Then I'm going to drop off a gift card for their favorite fast food place. So next. Oh, I showed you the grid, and this is my homework pass. I just print it out, or now I just email it to them. So, and I think that's
All right. Any questions? Any questions on the classroom management, or anything in for the whole presentation? Because that was the last section.
oh. I'm laughing because I figured out who made the green mark. Okay, so I'll go on to the next is our instructional rounds.
Yeah.
Now I know what day it is. Thank you, Sarah.
No worries. All right. So CTA is, as a part of the Equity October, they are doing some instructional rounds. So this is the QR code for the registration, or you see there's a bit.ly link there where you can sign up for the instructional rounds. So I'm going to be doing October 20th. They're at 3:30 to 4:30 each day. I will be on October 20th, and Kelly is on October 22nd. And like I said, for this, you're going to actually get to take the role of a student, and you're going to kind of be in our classroom, and we're going to go through a shortened version of what we would do with our students during a class session. So you'll get to see some of these tools that we're using, especially our synchronous tools. You'll get to see some of these synchronous tools in action. So it should be a lot of fun. It's the first time I've done it. I think it's the first time Kelly's doing it. So we're going to be all new to it. So we hope you guys will join us.
There's one more. Oh yeah.
And there's just our contact information. I know someone in the chat was asking if they could see some samples for me. Kelly and I both, we've said that the best thing in teaching is sharing, right? We've taken stuff we found. We're more than happy to share things that we've made or modified. So if there's something in particular that you want to see our behavior chart, or you want to see something like that, please just email us. Let us know what exactly you were wanting to see, and we can send you a link to, or we can either send it to you as an attachment or a link where you can have view access to it, and you can make your own copy and those kind of things. That is something I like about Google Suites, is that it's really easy to share something with someone and they can just make their own copy, and now they have it, and they can modify it as however you see fit.
And I'm going to add that, if you're struggling with a piece of the, one of the things that we've shown you that we're really pretty good at it, happy to, go onto a Zoom real quick and show you how to do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know Ray had asked, because he's in our district, but this isn't just for teachers in my district. One thing, I am also in my district, I am a demonstration teacher. So part of my job is to actually demonstrate for other teachers and help support other teachers. So, I'm also willing to have visitors to my classroom. So if you email me and you say, hey, I'd like to see, can I actually watch one of your classes, or can I see something like that? Just send me an email and I can give you my class times, and we can work something out where the tricky part with that is joining a meet outside of my district. So that is what gets a little bit tricky, is that because for security reasons, right, they only want people within my district to be able to go to that meet. But I can always try to think of other ways to kind of help you out. So please feel free to
also, I record some of my class sessions to share with.
I'm not allowed to do that either. We're not allowed to record in our district.
I'm allowed to record. I'm not allowed to invite. So.
So unfortunately.
But both of us are really open to helping, and Sarah probably has a life, but I don't really. So I spend my life working. I spent 6 hours last weekend with one of my students getting her caught up in chemistry and math. So
wow. That's dedication.
Well, it wasn't even me helping her. It was my 15-year-old helping her with math and my 22-year-old helping her with chemistry. I was just monitoring it because I don't do math or chemistry. But anything I can do to help a student or a fellow teacher, I'm on it. Let's do it.
So that's all that we have for you. If you guys have any more questions, or Karen, I don't know if there's a form a feedback form that you had for them to fill out. I'm not sure how these workshops work.
Yeah, so I believe everything was on the registration link that they got. that's where they would fill out the form. But I know you guys need credit for your ILC project, so we'll just send you the list of attendees. And if you'd like to send them an additional form, we can get you the email addresses. So thank you, everyone. This was so informational. I was actually even taking notes for myself as a parent from both of you. So really great resources. Thank you, everyone, for being here and spending an hour after teaching all day in our series. We really hope to see you back in the instructional rounds. This is going to be our biggest month of PD because we're kind of winding down in November, just because things are so uncertain. We don't know, where everyone's going to be with teaching. But please join us again. Thank you, everyone. And thank you so much, Sarah and Kelly. You're both incredible teachers. So your students are lucky to have you.
Thank you.
You guys did an amazing job. Thank you so much.
Yes.
You're very welcome.
And please reach out to one of us if you need help or more info, because happy to help.
And this
Okay.
will be, this is recorded. I'm going to actually pause it right now. This will be recorded and put up on our website. Just go to cta.org/IPD and it'll be up.
Karen,
in
can I ask
probably
you a
few weeks.
question? Can I ask you a quick question, Karen?
Yes.
This is Anna Marie. I had actually tried one day to get on there to go back and listen to one of the recordings that I missed a portion of. I'm a teacher and I work from home and I have kids that are doing distance learning from home. So I had to shift my attention and I didn't see that video. All the other ones that I was looking for would direct me back to YouTube. Did I do something wrong? Am I looking in the wrong place?
No, not that I know of. It could have just not been up yet. It takes us sometimes a few days. There's only one person who does it. So,
Gotcha.
and they also do my job on top of everything else. So it just,
Gotcha.
it just takes us. So you might've missed it then, but, if you just email the department at ipd@cta.org and ask for that specific video, then we can redirect you to find where it's at.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you so much. I super appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a wonderful evening, everybody.
Thanks, you guys too.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.